Joining us right now is Joh Smoltz here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, John?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Are the baseballs juiced? Let's start right there. What do you think?
It seems to be the topic, right? It seems to be people are talking about how tightly wound these baseballs are. I thought I heard the documentation of the commissioner saying that wasn't the case, but baseballs are being hit at a tremendous rate of distance. But I know guys are stronger, and I know pitchers are pitching faster, and that could be a combination of it. But I've heard that. I obviously have no way of knowing. I should probably grab a couple and peel them and throw them, but I can't throw anymore.
No, but I guess that was going to be my question for you, John, is could you be able to, in the same way that we had that whole conversation during the Deflategate insanity, that a professional thrower of a football can grab a football and pretty much tell whether it's overinflated or underinflated. Can you tell if a ball is juiced just by grabbing it?
Well, you definitely can tell the difference between an all-star home run derby ball and a baseball. And I could tell the difference between a ball that just felt square in my hand and not round. Some feel smaller, tighter. When you've thrown over 250,000 pitches, which I'm sure I have, you definitely know the difference between a ball that feels good in your hand and a ball that doesn't. To the degree that the firmness of it and the tightness, yeah, you could probably tell there's just a little bit different between the baseballs. But, this is just a different era, different launch angles, different ways that guys are trying to hit a baseball, which in and of itself explains why all the strikeouts are happening. And, I think the plus minus on where we are with home runs and strikeouts is still yet to be determined.
What do you mean by feel square in your hand, John?
Well, when you get the loop, the four-seam fastball, when you're grabbing the baseball, sometimes the ball feel oblong, and that was the definite for me to throw it back. Not every baseball is made perfectly, and there's some that feel just unbelievable in your hand. They call them pearls. But the biggest thing is when you find one you like, and think about today how many baseballs they go through a game. You could put a ball in play a couple times and pitch with it. Now every ball that's hit gets pretty much thrown out. So there's a different rate of which we go through the baseballs, and certainly a different flight of the baseball than we've ever seen before.
Well, let's just say that the balls have been wound tighter, and let's just say that has happened. Is that a problem when it all comes down to it, John?
I don't think anybody has had a disadvantage. I don't think there's a problem in that. The fact that baseballs are being thrown, like we said, harder and firmer, that's a byproduct of the ball being maybe tighter. Who knows? But you can spin a baseball. So, look, it really is, whether you like it or not, a game that has changed through science. And it's changed so much through science that we haven't figured out how to stop the injuries. That's a problem. And it's changed so much that guys now are being rewarded or not discounted for the amount of strikeouts they have. That used to be a detriment. That used to be something that cost you in a long contest. That's not the case anymore.
Joh Smoltz, Baseball Hall of Famer, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So are you saying that their players are just going up and don't care if they get the golden sombrero as long as they hit 500 feet in between games like that?
Absolutely. We're more consumed and infatuated with velocity and distance and exit velocity. I want to know the analytical statistic of who has the best exit velocity, taking strikeouts into consideration. That number is going to be lower. So what? Somebody can hit a ball 119 miles an hour every once in a while. Who cares? But that's what baseball's being shoved down everyone's throat to show the judges in the stands. I want to know what Tony Gwynn would have been. Tony Gwynn would have been one of the lower exit velocities in the game, and he was a stud. And that's the difference. So guys don't alter their swings with two strikes. They don't care. They're trying to hit home runs. We had a guy, a young man by the name of Ian Happ, who had a grand slam and 4 strikeouts in one game. That's looked at as a productive game. So, that's the difference. So when you're an agent and you're representing a guy, you say, hey, look, he hit 30 home runs. And he's got the capability of hitting 40. So what? He struck out 210 times.
But are you hearing that general managers are looking at exit velocity as an important metric? I know baseball does. I know, when my my MLB app notifies me that somebody's hit a baseball with an exit velocity of such and such, and I just ignore it. And that's why we talk old gen stats on this show. We talk ERA and RBI and and average and home runs. We do, but to me, I don't. What do I care that somebody's hit a ball hard or fast? It doesn't matter to me, but does it matter to general managers and managers for real?
Oh yeah, they're scouting for this now. They're scouting for launch angle and exit velocity. You're seeing it at youth baseball. I'm hearing parents of kids talk about their launch angle of 11-year-old player. Like, are you kidding me? So this is all the new age technology that is science. And we've basically it's been shoved to us to talk about what this is now the new fad. And yes, guys are scouting. It's the same thing with spin rate. This become the new thing, spin rate. Oh, if you got a good spin rate on your curveball, that's what we're looking for. Well, it's not teachable per se to every guy. If you find one guy that has great spin rate, the way he throws it. So this is just part of the game and part of the knowledge that is out there, and people are deciphering it how they need to. And personally, for me, I only concern myself with a man on third, less than 2 outs in the playoffs. I don't care if a guy's had 118 exit velocity off his bat. I only care if he hits the ball in play and drives that run in.
Amen. Joh Smoltz, Baseball Hall of Famer, joining me here. How real are the Rockies, John? How real are they?
They're real. It's a matter of sustainability for the long run of what they have to deal with atmosphere-wise. They have a greater chance of injuries because of where they play. It's well documented. Their pitchers have to have basically a blank slate in their brain to not know anything, which is good. They got a younger staff. They don't know anything.
I love it.
And they can go through the year without everybody telling them what's going to happen. That's a good thing. But from a standpoint of, are they in a great position to make the playoffs? 100% they are. Winning the division would be a little bit of a monumental task, not impossible, just because of what the Dodgers can throw at you as far as resources. So impressive story. It's one of the best stories in baseball right now, them and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the National League. So that West looks like a runaway right now from the 2 wild card standpoint.
And then when you look at the American League East, man, the Blue Jays can't get to 500. They're now 0-8 in games in which they could get to 500. But they're still in the mix here. The Orioles have imploded. They can't get anybody out suddenly. The Yankees have had the bottom fall out for the moment. That could be indicative of a larger picture. But now Chris Sale has led the Red Sox to first place right now. Do you think that this is going to be the general order of things in the American leagues from here on out?
Like I kind of do. From the beginning of the season, I really like Boston. I think everybody that pretty much had them predicted in that top spot. The Yankees are a great story and a great surprise, and they're hitting a little bit of a lull. They'll be right there by the end of the season. I think 2 divisions have a chance to have 3 teams come out of the playoffs, and I think it's the West in the National League and the East in the American League, unless somebody gets really hot. I know everybody is within striking distance of the wild card. That's a little deceiving, especially when you're talking about the last place team is 5.5 out, and they think they have a chance, but there's 9 teams in front of them. That's a little bit more daunting than just some of the teams that are a game or 2 out. So I think the Red Sox are for real. The obvious team in the American League is the Houston Astros, who are having a fantastic season, and Cleveland's looking like they're starting to get back in gear.
And then before I let you go, I know you're as we obviously Baseball Hall of Famer, but you're an excellent golfer. You love all sports. You love football, although you root for the very wrong college football team, as has been documented here on this show.
Yes.
I'm sure I don't know if you heard, but Phil Mickelson and his longtime caddy Jim Bones McKay have broken up. And we were talking about what's the most important relationship in sports. Law, do you have the list to read off to
John.
Smoltz?
So golfer to caddy, quarterback to offensive coordinator or head coach, pitcher to catcher, or fighter to trainer, boxer, UFC.
What do you think out of those choices?
That's a great list and very complicated and diverse. Look, the caddy is much like a catcher in as far as a pitcher, coaxing him, being able to give him opportunities to positive reinforcement, you name it. A trainer is important, obviously, in boxer. I'm going to have to say that I'm going to go off the board a little bit and say the offensive coordinator with the quarterback. I think that being in sync there makes that game move and flow a little bit quicker. You have very little time to make those decisions to translate what's coming in and be able to process whether you have to call to another player or not. And being in sync would certainly have helped the Falcons last year when they were up and winning the Super Bowl.
No doubt.
Didn't take place.
You could say that again. Did you ever have a personal catcher? I don't recall that, John, in the same way that
No,
obviously
I
Maddox
did ask for Brian McCann when he got called up from Bobby. I said, please let me throw to this young man, and we won 7 in a row when he got called up. So that was probably the closest thing I had to a so-called personal catcher, but I didn't have one in theory.
And in that regard, then how does the other catcher react to a future Hall of Famer, Cy Young winner saying, I want that guy, and the other guy just sits when ordinarily he might start? How does that work?
He didn't know about it.
Is it just that simple, John?
It just happened,
Amazing.
It just happened to be the young guy who needed to get him games in, and I was the guy to get him a game or two in. So, yeah, he didn't know about it.
Okay. John, take care. Thanks for calling.
All right.
Love it.
Thanks.
You got it. That's Joh Smoltz, Baseball Hall of Famer here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
Isn't it amazing you can download an app with your thumbprint? You should download our app with your thumbprint.